Greetings everybody, 'tis I, 480Voltz, and a little over a year ago, I uploaded a piano/keyboard cover of the song Closer to the Heart by Rush. Alright, so the video was met with mostly positive criticism. Most of the comments were, good. They were saying, oh, I like this and this sounds really good. But I did get a comment from, and this happened a few days ago, from a user by the name of Juho or Juho, one or the other, I don't know how you pronounce it, asking if I could do a tutorial of this song, of the intro. Because, and I asked this person, I said, well sure, which instrument do you play? And they said they used, they played piano. They were having trouble playing the intro. The thing is, the original song, for those of you who somehow don't know, the original song, it's not a piano song. The part that I played on piano is actually done on acoustic guitar. The intro itself is mostly single note picking, so I think it translates to a piano fairly well. I basically did to it what I did to Nothing Else Matters by Metallica and Wake Me Up by Avicii. I took acoustic guitar parts and I translated them to piano in the only way that I know how to do, and I think it worked out pretty good. Just to let you know, I play by ear. I don't actually read music, so the notes that I play may not always be accurate. Just take that into consideration when you learn from me. You may not be playing 100% accurate note for note. Also, if you're playing a Rush song and like you want to play your own version, arrangement, whatever, are you planning on playing it in a band or are you planning on playing it by yourself? Because if you're playing it in a band, and you have other players, like a bass player, a guitar player, a drummer, whatever, you can have them learn their respective parts, and that takes a lot of pressure off of you. You can focus on whatever it is that you're planning on playing and just leave it at that. But if you're playing the whole thing by yourself, that puts obviously more pressure on you, and though I say that's true with any song, but a lot of Rush songs, I feel like a lot of what the bass does and a lot of what the guitars do, a lot of that I feel you can simulate more or less, or replicate rather, more or less on the piano, if you know what you're doing. The hardest thing to really replicate on the piano would be the drums, which is sad because anybody who knows anything about Rush knows that the drums are such an integral part of the experience. Though it's not the most integral part, because I feel each part, bass, guitar, and drums, and in certain cases keyboards, they each play an important part, and they're equally, like, you take one of those elements out and the song is not nearly, it's incomplete. But the drums especially, I mean, if I listen to a Rush song with just the drums, I know where I'm at in this song. I know when to amp up, I know when to die down, I know what parts to sing, what parts not to sing, I know what parts I'm humming, I know what chords are playing in my mind. I get all that just by listening to the drums. And anybody who knows anything about Rush, and particularly their drummer Neil Peart, just absolutely unbelievable talent. All three of these guys, unbelievable talent. But I gotta quit talking about how talented and amazing Rush is. Otherwise, I'll never actually get to the tutorial. So, I will say, if you're planning on playing this completely by yourself on a grand piano, I'm going to show you the intro because that's what you asked. But then I'm going to show you a few little tips and tricks that you can use to sort of wow your audience, to kind of go the extra mile to impress your viewers, especially if they're Rush fans. So let's get started. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is play a file that I have put together of this song. It's based off, I recorded the original using GarageBand, and then since then I've upgraded to Logic, so I imported the old GarageBand file into Logic, and it's given me better drums and bass and guitar sounds for all that. I took the piano part and I put a acoustic guitar sound to it. So I'm going to play you a little bit of how it's supposed to sound. So here we go. that's enough of that. So that guitar sound obviously was not in the original recording that I made. I did that on the piano. So it would have sounded more like this. Oh, hang on. Okay, and so forth, so forth. And obviously I'm making stupid little mistakes here because it's actually not that easy to play, surprisingly enough. But that's what happens when you turn guitar parts into piano parts. It makes for interesting results. So to effectively play this piece, you kind of, what helps for me is, in my mind, to sort of separate the single notes from the filler notes. And what I mean by filler notes is you've got the highest registered notes in that part are what I call the lead notes, and that's this. And then you got the filler notes, which are the and so on and so forth. So that's what I'm going to refer to them. So I would advise separating those two and just concentrating on one part. For instance, the filler notes, or sorry, the lead notes. We're going to concentrate on the lead notes. That's A, B, A flat, A flat, F sharp, E, C sharp. Write that down. One more time with the notes. A, B, A flat, A, and then it's a quick A flat, F sharp, E, C sharp. All right, now we're going to talk about the filler notes, and that is the I'll play it for you, the whole thing for you in slow motion. You hear that? So that happens, that is a B, C sharp, and that happens 4 times on the first run through of the intro. But then on the second time, and every subsequent time that happens, it's a B, A once, and then a B, C sharp 3 times. So it's... So the whole thing goes, with just the filler notes, goes like this. And of course, the whole thing in slow motion is going to sound like this. And in real time with actual sustain, you're going to get this. And I'll show you what my right hand is doing. But before I do that, I'm going to give you a better view of what my right hand is doing. But the thing you need to remember about 480 doesn't play the piano properly. I never learned how to properly do fingering. You know, how each finger is supposed to go on the particular note. I never really learned how to do that. I never took the time to learn how to do that. Basically, I learned to play just whatever finger can get to the note quicker. That's the one that's going to do. And that's not really proper, but that's how I learned to play. And that's how I've developed my technique playing like that. So I suppose I could change, but it would require me basically unlearning everything that I've learned and trying from the ground up. But I just say that to say, I'll show you what I do with my left hand, but it may not be the way most pianists would want to ideally do it. Alright, so here we go. This is awkward because I'm holding the camera in one hand and I'm going to try playing this with the other hand, but here we go. Alright, so that's... That's... I can't show you what my right hand does with the actual, like, which fingers I use unless I'm playing the whole thing. As you notice, I'm having the pinky finger stretch over here, and it goes back down here, and then when I do this, so it's... Like I said, I don't think that's correct. Like, the notes are right, but my fingering method is not correct. And then, especially since for that part I gotta do... So hard to do this while holding the camera. Point is, I've never learned how to finger properly, and that probably does hinder my playing a lot. And kind of going back to what I said earlier, if you're playing this in a band, just focus on that. And if somebody else is maybe doing soft pads on keyboards or bass or something like that, let them do their respective parts. But if you're playing this whole thing on a piano by yourself, you're gonna have that little problem of when that first low A hits. Here, I'll show you at the very beginning. Wait for it. Here it is. Right when that glockenspiel hits with the low bass synthesizer string, it's a low A. So, you know, if you're playing this whole thing by yourself on piano, you're obviously going to want to hit that note, obviously, with your left hand, which is why I advise that you try to learn the intro to do with just one hand, because it would be easier to do the intro with two hands, but I'd advise using the intro with just one hand. So it's going to be... And there you have it. Once you've gotten that part done, that's the hardest part of the intro, really. And then after that, you've got the... here, I'll show you. So that's, let's see what that was. What is that note, actually? I'm missing it. Okay, I got it now, so it's... I say I got it. Alright, so let's break this down section by section. So first, obviously that's a low G with your left hand, obviously. So your right hand is going to do a G, and then an octave lower G, and then a D, E, back to D, lower G. So that's... That's a super easy thing to do. You know, that's, you just line your fingers right up and they'll pretty much just know which note to go to automatically. Now that right there is a low D with your left hand, a bass note D with your left hand. it's going to be up here with your right hand is going to be a F sharp, and then a lower F sharp, and then the D, E, back to D, lower F sharp. So it's literally the same thing you played a minute ago, but change all those G's to F sharps. And that's just your right hand. The left hand changes the G to a D. Like, same notes. But make sure, because that's basically like, the whole chord is like this. So like the F sharps are sort of substituting for D's, if that makes sense. The third one is where it gets tricky. That's where I had trouble there, as you saw a minute ago. All right, so obviously that's your left hand's doing an F. Up here we're doing a high F and then a low F. And then instead of the D, E thing, we're doing a E thing. So it's F, lower F, A, E, lower F. So there you go. So far we've got and then the final sort of resolve so that's just the rhythm is a bum bum bum. I'm hitting that A note with my left hand, and with my right hand, two of my fingers are doing an E and an A at the same simultaneously with my left hand, and then it's the third note with my right hand is the one that's changing. It's going that's a B, D, C sharp. And if you can't figure out the timing, let's see. I've got a drone hi-hat playing, which is actually in the original recording what I played to, because I knew I wasn't going to be able to keep that with just a metronome. So how does that sound? Oh, that's a drone beat. Never mind. So I kind of screwed it up there, but I'll let you hear it again. Just that final chord. Yeah, it kind of bounces. It's not straight fourths. It's not, no, it's not straight fourth. It's, are those eighths or sixteenths? I think those are eighths, but I'm not entirely certain. So once again, the whole thing. That's the intro. And that was what the user said was the only thing they were struggling with. However, I mentioned I was going to give you a few little tips if you're playing this whole thing by yourself, like on a single piano, and you don't have a band to back you. There are some things that I think you can do to really go the extra mile and wow your audience, especially if your audience are die-hard Rush fans who know that song inside and out, especially if some of them happen to be bass players or guitar players. You can really impress them if you learn the bass lines to this song and actually try to play it on your left hand while you're playing the chords. Because, the chords are very simple. Let's see, it's... Okay, well, I say they're simple. You don't have to feel your right hand the way I do. That's just how I've played over the years. But let's listen to the bass line and the drums by themselves. If I can find, let's see here. This will work. That was... Oh, hang on. Let me unmute the piano. That might help. It's not note for note. I think what I programmed for the bass track is pretty much note for note, but obviously what I just played right now isn't quite note for note. It's because I haven't practiced it a lot. But if you can try and learn that with your right hand doing the chords. Something like that. I just completely butchered that up, but obviously I haven't learned how to do that. Maybe that's something I will try to do in the future if I ever decide to play this song just on a grand piano with nothing else following me, is try to learn the bass lines with my left hand and incorporate them with the chords of my right hand. Not an easy thing to do, especially if I'm going to be doing the melody along with the chords like I did in the video. But you will wow your audience. And I mentioned the guitar solo. Let's listen to the guitar solo for a minute. Let's see if I can find it here. Where is the guitar solo? There's the guitar solo. Thing to note is those last couple notes that I programmed there are not accurate. They are not the correct notes that is in the original solo. I need to go back and fix that. I don't know what they are off the top of my head. I just know they're not those. But obviously that's hard to do on a piano because that requires a lot of pitch bend, Which I can do on a keyboard, but if you're using an actual grand piano, not so much. But obviously the nice thing about piano is you can have your melody backed by chords with your other two fingers, which is something I tried to do in the Nothing Else Matters video. So if I was to just do that solo on piano on the fly, I would probably do it something like this. I gotta remember the chords now. don't know, something to that extent, you know, where you try to have as many of the notes in there that you can humanly do while still having chords to back them up. And make sure they're the right chords, which is not what I was doing a minute ago, so yeah. The moral of the whole story is that Rush songs are insanely difficult to do. But if you're a better pianist than I am, which that shouldn't be too hard, then you should have no trouble doing this. Alright, Juho, that was my tutorial. I hope you found it useful. I hope you were able to make sense of it. Let me know if this helps you or not. The truth be told, I'm not great at tutorials because I know how to play a song the way I learned how to do it, but it's hard for me to articulate that to other people. So I hope you were able to make sense of my ramblings. And for anybody who hasn't watched it, you know, the original recording that I did, I've got it linked in the description. I've got the playlist that video is in the description as well. That whole playlist is me just doing covers of different songs, including another Rush song in their subdivisions, and so on and so forth. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were able to make sense out of it. I hope this helped you and anybody else who was curious. And I hope somebody watched this and felt inspired in some way. And either way, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Peace out.